It's pretty rare that I do a video where I'm not telling you about beads or making something or teaching you how to make something or, being completely bead focused. But sometimes you just run across a really cool story and I want to tell you guys about it. When I was in Tucson, so if you're not familiar with the Tucson gem shows, the deal is that basically the entire month of February, the city of Tucson becomes a big giant jewelry mecca. And you know how sometimes you'll have like a local bead show, or there's also regional, so that wouldn't, a regional bead show would be a little bit bigger. And then you have the big bead shows like the Bead and Button show or the Bead Fest shows. Well, Tucson is like 42 of these kinds of shows going on all at the same time. I mean, anybody who's anybody in the bead and jewelry industry is in Tucson in this February timeframe. It's a big annual event. I have been going for 12 years now. And you never know what you're going to run into in Tucson, and that's one of the cool things. And there's everything from the geode, the big amethyst geode that I've had in the background for years. That came from Tucson, and that is actually only a medium, not even a medium, like a small to medium size version of those geodes. They actually have geodes so big that you can stand in them. They're adult sized or even taller geodes. I mean, you can find everything from that raw rock material to the fine gemstones, the diamonds and the rubies and the completely gorgeous diamond jewelry and everything in between. So I was at a bead show, one of the 42 bead shows this year, and I ran into a vendor who was selling these gorgeous necklaces. The one that I have on right now, this is a lariat with all of the flower petals. I ended up buying 3 of these necklaces. This is another one of the lariats. It just has more of the pink and purple, and it doesn't have the teal and the yellow in it. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. This one is a little more contemporary. It's got kind of these gorgeous colors and shapes, and it's all done in needle art, different kinds of needle art. And so I sat and talked with the lady for a little while about these gorgeous pieces that she had. And it turns out there's a story behind them. These are all being handmade by women in Turkey. And there is a long tradition called Oya, O-Y-A, Oya jewelry. And it's actually more like it's Oya lace edging. It goes back to the 15th century, possibly even later than that. And women would wear headscarves. This is where it kind of started, was where women would wear headscarves, and they would have this fine needlework edging that they'd put on these headscarves. And so there were a number of different techniques. There were, let's see here if I can find, because I was so fascinated, I went and looked up all this information. Needle, crochet, shuttle, hairpin, bead, tassel. There are some actually amethyst gemstones on this particular one that I'm wearing. This other one that I have, there are some small seed beads crocheted into this. So there's a whole range of techniques that they used when they were making this lace edging. And here's the part that I find so fascinating. Over time, the motifs that they used and they created when they made the lace edging actually started to have a secret language. So family members and community members could see from the various flowers or whatever colors the flowers were, women could communicate something to everybody else without actually having it said out loud. They probably weren't encouraged to actually be very verbal in public, and sometimes they were probably wanting to communicate things that they couldn't or wouldn't say out loud. And so these edgings had an actual language behind them. And so some of the things that they used to say were, I love this, for example, different flowers would mean different ages. Older women would wear tiny wildflowers, while young women and brides wore roses, jasmine, carnations, fuchsias. Yellow daffodils signified hopeless love. A wife whose husband had gone abroad to work would warp wild rose oya on her head, and a girl in love would wear purple hyacinths. Then there was some more information back here that I loved. This is my favorite part. An unhappy bride who chose pepper spice for her bridal crown was declaring the marriage doomed from the start. But if she chose a red pepper, she was indicating her relationship was spicy and hot. I'm like, really? So I think it's just so interesting that they were literally creating a language with their jewelry and with the edging on their pieces. Evidently, this edging also over time became decorative borders on things like pillows and handkerchiefs and things like that. But the original part was some kind of jewelry type decoration. So with this rich tradition of the Oya flower techniques, this woman, her name is Meredith Strauss, she became fascinated by it, and she has all these workers in Turkey using these traditional techniques to make pieces that are a little more traditional, or a little more up to date, a little more modern. So that is what I'm wearing here. Is these are traditional techniques. Now I know that my yellow flower means that hopeless love, which is kind of sad. But here I have the young, in love, rose colors kind of thing. This one is so contemporary, it's probably, not referenced under the Oya, but I love the fact that it's the same kind of fine needle technique that she's turned into a very modern kind of piece. And this is actually a very long necklace that you can wear doubled or tripled. So it's gorgeous. I just thought it was a really interesting story, and it just goes to show that the jewelry that we make is so much more than just jewelry. Sometimes it's language, sometimes it expresses your emotions. And don't we do that with the jewelry that we make today too? I mean, when you spend that much time in a piece of bead weaving, you're putting your heart and soul and your personality into it. And so you're telling a story with the jewelry that you choose to make too. So we are just a long tradition. This is just one piece of it, but we're a piece of it too. We're just doing it in a more modern fashion. I just thought it was a very interesting story. If you are interested, I will post a link to Meredith Strauss's website in the video description below. You just have to click that little down arrow to open up the box where it shows you the video description, and there will be a link there. I'm not getting any kind of referral fee or anything for this. I just thought it was a cool story, and I wanted you guys to know about it too. Happy beading!